Innocent cable TV. Understand you got a problem.
Nobody told me you were coming.
Oh, somebody called. Here's the work order. Open the gate. I said open the gate.
Freeze.
That's that, and you're dead.
Very effective, but you're 12 seconds late. None of you would have gotten off the grounds alive. He would have been out of the chair, out of the room. The police would have been on their way. By the time you found them, they would have arrived.
Well, that guard wasn't supposed to be there under the stairs.
Corman, you were supposed to check the stairs.
Yeah, Danny. If Otis and I hadn't been there.
What makes you think that your target, surely one of the most unpredictable men in the world, will pick the moment that we plan to kill him to suddenly become predictable?
Sir, this is the whole idea of training, to prepare for the unexpected moment.
The guards will be real next time, and so will the bullets.
We won't be off more than 5 seconds, no matter what they throw at us.
5 seconds. And half that time, you could be 4 dead soldiers. Now think about it. There isn't much time left.
Yes, that's Corman, Danny Corman. No, with a C. C-O-R-M-A-N. I'm his wife. Well, there must be some record. He said he was working for you. I know you're just the secretary, but could you please check? It's really terribly important. I see, all right. Thank you very much.
Zip, huh?
Zip.
She's lying.
Maybe she is just the secretary.
Are you kidding me? Secretaries always know more than their bosses.
I think that's a compliment.
Jedediah? Were you expecting a young, pretty visitor?
Hello, Kate.
Hi, JR. Did you find him?
Well, no, but we think we have some leads.
Anybody mind filling me in?
I'm Barnaby, I'm sorry. Betty Barnaby, this is Kate Corman. She's Danny's wife.
How do you do?
How do you do?
Danny's a friend of JR's from Chicago. They grew up there and served together in Vietnam.
Kate called me last night to help me locate Danny.
Is he missing?
Danny joined a private army group.
They're mercenaries. Let's call them what they are.
Anyway, he was immediately sent out here to Los Angeles. I got 2 letters right away. Then for the past 3 weeks, nothing.
Well, have you tried contacting this army group?
Well, we've been trying all morning, Barnaby, but they claim to have no record of him at all. And they swear they don't even know what we're talking about.
Well, I'm sure we can clear that up.
Not to worry. Now, it's my friend, my case. It's my first case. How about that, huh?
Why did your husband join this group in the first place?
Oh, money. You see, I've been ill. The doctor and hospital bills were killing us. Before I could stop him, Danny had joined and was shipped off. A few weeks later, my condition turned around. I've got to find him, Mr. Jones, and tell him I'm all right now. I'm afraid they'll send him to Angola or someplace. He'll be killed all for nothing.
All right, take it easy. Just give me a little time.
JR's right. You must be dead tired from your flight. Why did you come to my place? You could stay there if you like.
Well, thank you, but I already left my things at my aunt's over in Silver Lake.
Well, I'm going across town. Silver Lake's right on the way. Why don't you ride with me? Betty, see if this gets in the mail, please.
We'll do.
You sure it's no trouble?
No, no trouble at all. Come on.
Does your aunt have a phone?
I'll call you with the number.
Look, Katie, don't worry about a thing. We'll take care of it.
Thanks, JR.
Well, I sure hope that sounded convincing.
You should learn not to promise things unless you can deliver.
That ad with the number.
What do now?
Well, you can't beat him, as the old saying goes. Why don't you try
You're
to
not gonna
join
try,
him?
no?
Yes, sir.
Corman, I don't see how the VC missed you.
You're very good, sir, but it won't happen next time, sir.
When it's the real thing, there is no next time. Reed, Otis. When are you guys going to shape up? I mean, where's your pride? Think of the importance of this mission. We are going to set a whole country on the road to freedom. Think of it. All right, let's try it again. You two in the trees there. Corman, you be the target this time.
Colonel Folsom, I was just wondering if you had a chance to make that phone call for me.
Yeah, I talked to your wife.
How is she?
Well, unfortunately, her condition is not too changed. But she seemed in good spirits.
Well, considering the circumstances, sir, don't you think maybe I could make like one phone call?
Soon. We'll be going into action very soon. Corman, your wife sends her love.
This the Sendrex company?
Sure is, buddy. Secretary's inside. I'm Steve Barker. Call me Lobo.
Hi, Lobo. How are you? J.R. Jones.
I guess you're signing on too, huh?
Well, do you know where the fighting's gonna be?
Somewhere in Africa. I don't really care. As long as it's a place where a guy can show what he's made of.
I see. Were you in Vietnam?
No. That one didn't last long enough for me to get in it.
But you were in the service.
Marines. I wanted to be ready when I did get my chance. I've kept myself in pretty good shape.
Get your feet off the desk. Sign here.
Does this mean I'm in?
Not quite. You'll get a call.
Sure hope you make it, buddy.
Thanks, Lobo.
What are you looking at?
You? You know something? I'll bet under that hard, business-like veneer beats the heart of a great romantic. A veritable sleeping beauty just waiting to be set free.
Well, if you're the frog I have to kiss, forget it. Now, what do you want?
Well, I called. J.R. Jones, you told me to come down, remember?
How did you hear about the Sendrex company?
I told you.
Tell me again.
The ad in Man of the World magazine. I was wondering where we were going to be fighting.
I don't know. I'm just the secretary.
Well, can't you even tell me where we're going to be training?
I just take applications.
Well, who's going to be in charge of this group?
That's classified.
Why? I was just wondering what I'm getting myself into here.
Do you know it's against the law to recruit mercenaries in this country?
Yeah.
That's why it's classified. Now, do you want to fill out this questionnaire or not?
Do you love your country? And that was just the first question. Then there was, are you willing to kill without question? Have you ever been confined to a mental institution?
Betty was right. I don't like the sound of this.
You know how much these guys make? $300 a week.
That's big money to a lot of people.
Big enough to die for? You know, I'll bet a lot of these guys are like this kid Lobo. I mean, he doesn't have any idea what he's getting himself into here.
Barnaby, we can't let JR go through with this.
Look, it'll just be for a little while. I have to do it. Danny must be in trouble or he would have called Kate.
We haven't seen him in 3 years. People change, you know.
Well, if Danny had changed that much, don't you think I would have seen it in Kate? I got it. I gave the number of our private line here to our friendly neighborhood mercenaries. Hello? Speaking? Great. I'll be there. Well, I am in.
Get out and line up.
This is it? We're the whole army here?
Just shut up and get in line. Recruits! Stand hut! From the dawn of time, there have been men who flirted with death. Men who found that thin line between disaster and glory more exciting than any financial success. I am one of those men. You think you are too. Well, that's what we're here to find out. We know that you are already tough. But by the time you ship out of here, you're going to be twice as tough. In the meantime, you belong to me. You are all mine, 24 hours a day. Now, to help you concentrate on your work while you're here, there'll be no distractions. No newspapers, no radios, no television, no phone calls, in or out. And the first thing we have to do is get you looking like soldiers.
Ah, look at that, more clothes. We're not the only ones here after all, huh?
Jones, didn't anyone ever tell you you ask too many questions?
Can I help it if I've always been curious?
Well, we'll just have to take care of that now, won't we?
Yes, sir.
How do they look to you?
Fine to me, why?
You seem to get younger every batch.
All you need is nerve to pull the trigger. The younger ones are easier to discipline.
Well, I get the same price whoever we send over, so I guess it doesn't matter.
Not much, unless you need men who are really trained, like for the special unit.
Oh, by the way, Colonel Folsom is bringing them back in later today.
I guess he figures he's punished them enough.
Recruit! Hold it! Hit! Hut! Where's Jones?
I don't know, I'll find him. Where you been?
Well, guy's got to have a chance to wash his hands, doesn't he?
You get in line now, on the double.
I'm sorry, sir. Won't happen again.
All right, it's time to find out what you can do. So we'll start with the obstacle course. Jones, you be first. And last. All right, move him out. Double time. Hard! Hut! 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 Hut!
Hi, Betty.
Hi.
Is JR here?
There's no one here but me and my trusty typewriter.
Oh.
Well, listen, when I hear from him, I'll have him give you a jingle.
Thank you.
Would you like to stick around? I just brewed a pot of hot, fresh coffee.
Well, I wouldn't want to interrupt you.
Listen, you're not interrupting me. Believe me, you're saving me. Black okay?
Yeah, fine.
There you go.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Betty, I haven't been completely honest with JR and you people.
Oh?
Deep down, I'm afraid Danny doesn't want to call. What if he doesn't want to come back to me?
You don't really believe that, do you?
I've never admitted it to anyone, even myself. But that's what really scares me. Maybe he's just left me for good. I really couldn't blame him.
What makes you say that?
Oh, I was so impatient for him to do well. He drifted through a lot of jobs. It wasn't that he couldn't hold them, he hated them. Then I got sick, and he couldn't see how to pay the bills, and, well, you know the rest.
Well, as I see it, Kate, there's only one real question. And that is, do you two really love each other?
Yes. Yes, I think we do.
Well, then, he didn't leave you. And if I know JR, he'll find him.
Come on, Lobo, you can make it.
I don't think I can make it.
Sure you can. Come on. It's another 50 yards. You can make it.
I never expected anything like this.
Come on, you can't tell me you didn't do things like this in the Corps.
I lied. Don't ever tell anybody. I was never in the Corps.
Come on, let's go.
Still out of shape, aren't we, fellas? Don't worry, in 2 weeks you won't even be breathing hard.
If we live that long.
Okay, that's it for today. Get on back to the barracks. Chow's at 1800 hours.
Pick him up! Pick him up! Up, up, beep, up, beep, up, beep.
Danny!
Oh, my God, what are you doing here?
Looking for you?
How'd you get in here? You're not supposed to be here.
Keep going, keep going, keep going.
Kate has been trying to get in touch with you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, you two. Break it up. Move it out. Get the lead out, woman.
What was that all about?
Looks like they're long-lost buddies.
It's a coincidence. You know, Corman's wife has been calling quite a bit trying to reach him.
And now his friend shows up. You interviewed Jones, didn't you? What do you think?
I think I ought to check him out a bit more thoroughly.
The least you think you could do would be to call.
Why don't you run along home? I'm going to hang around for a while.
Is there anything I can help you with? Barnaby Jones, may I help you?
This is the phone company calling 555-9134.
Yes, operator.
We're calling to verify some long-distance calls charged to this number by a Mr. J.R. Jones.
Oh, that's all right. He works here.
Is this a residence phone or a business phone?
Well, it's a business phone. Don't you have it there? It's a private, unlisted number.
Oh, yes, here it is. Jones Plumbing?
Oh, that's Barnaby Jones Private Investigations.
I see.
Oh, what's this about, operator? Is Mr. Jones trying to call in collect?
Oh, no, we're just checking the number for billing purposes.
Oh, well, what was that first name again? Jones is such a common name.
The initials J as in Jack, R as in Robert.
Oh, you said J.R. I'm sorry. I thought you said A.R. There isn't a J.R. Jones here.
I see. I'm sorry to have troubled you.
That's perfectly all right. Barnaby, I really blew it, didn't I?
Why don't you double check the phone company? I gotta go find Jedediah.
Have either of you seen Colonel Folsom?
Yeah, he's already left for town. He won't be back until the morning. What's up? That'll be all, Clement.
That new recruit, Jones. I found out he works for a private investigator in L.A.
You mean we've been infiltrated?
That's right. And until the Colonel returns, I don't want Jones out of your sight.
Why don't we just get rid of him now?
No, that's up to the Colonel. In the morning.
There's nothing like starting off the day with a 10-mile hike before breakfast.
I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Did you know it was gonna be like this?
Well, I didn't think we were on our way to a hotel in town.
Hey, buddy, help me.
All right, come on.
Make it.
Let's go.
Danny!
Go on, go ahead. Wait a second, I want to tell you something.
JR, you better get out here as fast as you can. You're in a lot of trouble, boy.
I am? Why? I just wanted to tell you that Kate's fine.
Jones, get your butt over here on the double. Longman says we might get the green light as early as tonight. You better clean this place out. No matter how it comes off, we won't be coming back here.
There might be a problem.
What kind of problem? Come in.
Could I speak to you for a second, Colonel?
What is it, Corman?
It's about one of the new recruits, sir.
Go on.
Well, you know Jones? Well, I knew him in Vietnam. Now, I don't know what he's doing here, but I do know that he works for a private detective.
Private detective? Did you know about this?
Last night, I was about to tell you.
You're right. We do have a problem, don't we?
Well, Danny, I'm glad you told us. Any ideas why he's here?
Well, it says he's got a message from my wife, but you already spoke to her, right, sir? Well, you see, this is why I don't trust him.
Well, neither do I.
You want me to take care of him?
Okay, Corman. You got the job.
A lot of good things to say for women in business, and you're sure one of the reasons.
Well, that's very nice, Mr. Jones, but...
Sounded chauvinistic. Well, I'm sorry. I guess it came out wrong, but I meant it for a compliment.
Well, that's exactly how I took it. Well, here it is. This is the Sendreps Company.
Travel light, didn't they?
Well, the only person I ever met was a woman named Lucy Todd. She said that the company was screening applicants for foreign jobs.
They leave a forwarding address?
I didn't even know they'd moved out.
You wouldn't have one of their old canceled rent checks around, would you?
Yes, if they had paid by check, but Miss Todd always paid cash in advance.
Who owns the furniture?
The building. She rented it.
Suppose they paid for that in cash, too.
You really are a detective, aren't you?
Times like this, I sometimes wonder.
What? Oh, I see what you mean. Mr. Jones, I don't think they left a thing behind.
Probably right. Except for this. 5557201. Is that the one you called for, JR?
Mm-hmm, that's the one.
Get in touch with your friend at the phone company. See if they can tell you who that number is listed to, what numbers they call, things like that.
I'll get right on it.
Better call Lieutenant Biddle, too. Tell him what we're doing. I have a hunch if we turn over enough rocks, we're going to find something we need help handling.
JR.
Boy, am I glad to see you.
I wasn't so sure there for a while.
Is Kate really all right?
Yeah, the treatment's worked as a total cure.
Oh, man. Wish I could see her now.
Well, what are you waiting for?
JR, don't you know what you gotten yourself into here? I can't leave. They'd kill me.
What do you mean they kill you?
I'm in a special unit. We're going to start a revolution by killing this Middle Eastern dictator.
Danny, if you get out now, nobody will connect you with something that's going to happen halfway around the world.
Well, it's not going to happen halfway around the world. This dictator's going to come here.
What do you mean, here to Los Angeles?
Yeah. So you see, you got to get out of here as fast as you can.
Look, I'm not going anywhere without you.
Well, the two of us can't make it, but if you get out, then you can bring help.
No.
Look, it's the only way, and I already told them that I know you work for a private investigator.
You told him?
Yeah. Well, no, they already knew, but see, this way I could volunteer to get rid of you myself.
You what?
Well, you're going to get away. You take a swing at me and you start running.
Oh, no, forget it.
Look, you're our only hope. Now, go ahead. Go on. Just make it look good, though, okay?
That's it.
And what are you two doing here?
Backing you up. Looks like you needed it.
I could have gotten it myself.
Crack shot like you missing twice?
And what's going on? Hey, those were blanks. You were testing me. Why?
What's the difference? You passed.
I don't like having my loyalty questioned.
You don't have to like anything. All you have to do is obey orders. All right, take him back.
Why don't we just finish Jones off now?
And take a chance on them tracing the body back here? That's stupid. No, we'll take him with us. He'll be one mercenary who didn't survive the raid.
Here's a list of calls made from the Sendreps Company phone. Did a rundown on most of the numbers for you.
Good work. Richard Longwood, that name ring a bell?
Isn't he into oil or something like that?
He is, A billionaire oil speculator with interests in the Middle East, places like that.
Think there's a connection?
Seems to me I read something about him financing a mercenary army in a revolution to put his man in power. Well, it's like Jedediah's first case is a little bigger than just tracking a missing husband.
Well, now where are you off to?
Longwood. I always wanted to meet a billionaire.
Dinner. I'm supposed to wait while you eat it.
Lobo, I'm a private investigator. I came here to find Danny Corman. But as it turns out, I uncovered a plot to kill a Middle Eastern leader.
Yeah, then there's gonna be a revolution, which will free a whole country.
Oh, come on. You don't really believe that, do you?
Well, sure. Why not?
Because it's a lot of baloney, that's why not. It's gonna happen right here. And we're gonna be accessories to a political assassination. There isn't gonna be any glory. There's gonna be an international incident.
I didn't know anything like this was gonna happen. I just wanted a chance to do something important.
All right, well, maybe you still can. And will you help me stop him?
What do you want me to do?
All right, listen. Somebody has got to get out. Now, I can't, and I know they're watching Danny. So you've got to get out. Lobo, this is the adventure you've been wanting.
Me? How?
Well, I'm sorry. I'm just not so convinced.
Corman told us Jones worked for a private detective. He volunteered to get rid of him. He didn't know his gun was loaded with blanks.
Now, look, they grew up together. They soldiered together. People don't change that much so fast.
Corman's done everything we've asked of him. You don't have anything except your damn woman's intuition.
Let it pass.
All right, then try this. If you've been calling Corman's wife like you told him, why would she send Jones to find him? She'd just wait for your next call. Now, by now, Corman must realize you lied. That's not intuition. That is just common sense. Mr. Long.
Yes, sir? I understand. It's the green light. We go in 2 hours.
What about Corman?
Corman, yeah. Lucy, I think you're right. Bates, you go with us. And when this whole thing is over, 2 dead will be left behind. Jones and Corman.
What do you want?
I'd like to see Mr. Longwood.
He expecting you?
No, but it's rather important. My name's Barnaby Jones. I'm a private investigator.
Barnaby.
Well, Sergeant Marley.
He's okay, I know him. What are you doing here?
I might ask you the same question.
It's no secret. Longwood's having lunch with Mohammed Abu Rashid.
The oil prince. Now, that explains why you're here. You're guarding him.
He brought his own security men. I'm the token local police observer. A matter of courtesy, more or less.
I guess all this means I'm not going to be able to see Longwood today.
I doubt it. Sorry you made the long drive up here for nothing.
Oh, it's pretty scenery up here. I don't get to drive up this canyon very much.
Oh! Damn it! Somebody do something! I need a doctor! Oh, oh God, it hurts! Can't somebody do something?
Okay, how long have you been
Oh,
like
I don't know. Hours. Ooh, do something, please.
Where does it hurt?
Everywhere. Ooh, mostly my side. Down here on the right. Oh. Oh.
Okay, hang on, I'll be right back.
Oh. 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 God. No. Oh.
Colonel?
What is it?
One of the recruits, Barker, may have appendicitis.
Great. Well, can you give him something?
I'm not a doctor, but if it's for real, he could die.
Well, get him to the hospital and stay with him, all right?
I'll handle it. Good luck today.
Thanks.
I trust you'll enjoy this, Excellency.
Ah, Mr. Longwood, I see you remembered my curious eating habits.
Would you deny a guest any desire in your home?
No, but a vegetarian's diet is not for everyone. Actually, I would not have been offended had you ordered something else for yourself.
To tell you the truth, Excellency, you've converted me.
I doubt it, but it's kind of you to say so.
Shall we?
I apologize, but just now is a troubled time in my home. Excellent.
I'm sorry, but you'll have to wait in there.
Stop. I feel a lot better.
Hey, what are you doing?
Oh, really? I'm okay. I've got to get to a
No, just calm down.
I'll be back.
Barnaby Jones' office, may I help you?
It's me, Betty.
Oh, Barnaby, thank heavens.
What's wrong?
Well, I just got a call from a very excited man who said his name was Steve Barker and that he was in the same outfit with J.R.
Is J.R. all right?
He's a prisoner of those mercenaries. Danny Corman is with him. Now, this man said that they are planning a raid on an estate somewhere here in town to assassinate an oil minister. I tried to find out where, but he didn't know the location.
I think I do.
Leave it. They're gonna be early.
I can send technicians to your country who can help your people to progress the equivalent of 10 years in 18 months.
But don't you see, that is exactly the kind of help we don't need. We are innocents. Look, I'm fearful that if we progress too fast, our teachers will become our masters.
Others in your country don't feel that way.
Those others are my enemies, Mr. Longwood.
There are no guards. Where's the dog? I don't like this. What in the hell are they?
Maybe we got lucky this time.
Maybe.
You want to wait for Reed?
No. He can catch up. We better go while we can.
Where are they? Maybe Longwood concentrated everything around the target.
Maybe he already left.
No, that's his limousine. Give me that.
It's too easy.
You just can't stop now.
Where's Reed? He should have caught us by now.
Otis, check on him. Get back as soon as you can.
Right.
We'll keep moving. Let's take him.
What the?
Hold it, Mr. Longwood.
Come on.
And you call yourself a soldier?
Mr. Longwood, there's an old saying, and I can't think of a time it applies better. You get what you pay for. First thing we did was to get Rashid out of there in my car.
And I couldn't believe the expression on Longwood's face when he found himself looking up the muzzle of Folsom's gun.
He wouldn't tell us what the plan was, so we figured the best thing to do would be to get rid of all the resistance so there wouldn't be any reason for any shooting till he got to the study.
What about Lucy Todd and Reed?
Police picked her up at the hospital and him on his way to Longwood.
Where are they? Annie, she's a woman and she's gonna make you sweat.
Danny? Oh, Danny. I was afraid I'd never see you again.
From now on, you won't see anything else.
JR, how can I ever thank you?
One kiss, this cheek, that's it.
Anytime you need some help, you just say the word and you got it.
Well, I just want you to be happy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. I bet they will be, too.
How do you feel, Jedediah?
It feels damn good.
Looks like he might jump before you get to him.
No way. This guy wants to go on camera. That's why he called us. Jim?
Get back!
Okay, man. Okay. This is DeWitt Robinson on the Vincent Thomas Bridge in San Pedro. The man you see on that ledge is Jim Anders. Called us on the KBX hotline. Told us his intentions. Seemed to be reaching out. Like he wanted somebody to stop him. Jim? Jim, we want to help you. I don't know what a reporter can say to you.
Nobody asked you to say anything.
You want us to listen, is that it?
Yeah, why not? Nobody else will.
What's the problem? You have trouble at home? Your wife? Girlfriend? Lose your job? Are you hooked on something?
Let me speak to him. Father Moore.
What's your name? What's his name?
Anders, Jim Anders.
Jim. Will you give me just a minute? Look, whatever you're selling, I am not buying it. There's an answer, Jim. There's always an answer, no matter what's bugging you. There's got to be a better way than this. Come on, talk to me. Hey, Jim, as lousy as it is, there's always something worth talking about. There's got to be somebody who's going to miss you. How about it? You married? Isn't there a girl somewhere? Mother? Father? Who is it, Jim? Who do you care about? Get him away from me! Take my hand, Jim. I promise you, there's an answer, one you can buy.
Hold it. Longer.
Okay, now hold it one more beat. Now.
I wonder what we had to do with this. I mean, if we hadn't have been there, maybe it wouldn't have happened.
If we don't cover the news, somebody else will. Nobody asked that priest to interfere.
Tell me something, DeWitt. If you stay in this business long enough, do you ever get used to it?
Maybe you have to. What's the running time on that? 3:57.
Robinson's reports, cutting room. Yeah, he's here. DeWitt, it's the hotline. They're putting it through.
Maybe take that timing sheet up to the control room, will you? Yeah, DeWitt Robinson.
It's me, Jim.
Hold on. Steve, is there any coffee around here? Sure. Newsroom, huh? Stuff tastes like it was made by Dr. Jekyll.
Right. It'll do wonders for you.
Jim, you made it? You all right?
How can I be all right? We just killed a man. A priest.
Are you sure? Did you see a body?
I didn't have to see him. Why didn't you stop him?
How was I gonna do that? Hey, Father, don't worry about the guy on the bridge. There's a little manufactured news for the 6 o'clock report.
Well, that would have been a lot better than what happened.
It was an accident.
DeWitt, you can't run that film.
Gotta run it. Everybody knows I've got it. Why wouldn't I run it?
I'll be recognized.
Sure, you'll be recognized. You knew that beforehand. That's why you can't go home. You find yourself someplace to crash at the marina. You shave your lip, and I'll see you at the foot of the South Jetty at 9 in the morning.
You damn well better see me now.
Look, I've got a newscast to do. I've got a press club dinner tonight that I cannot get out of. Now, don't sweat it. I'll take care of everything.
Can you take care of the priest?
Hey, I mean, maybe he's all right. You made it, maybe he did too. Jim, trust me. Okay? I'll see you in the morning.
Mr. Jones, come in.
Thank you.
Did you see the police yet?
My associate is down there now.
I hope they tell him more than they told me.
They haven't recovered anyone from the water yet.
But it's been 15 hours, and Jim hasn't been at his apartment since I got into town. I've knocked on his door so many times, the landlady's daughter thinks I'm some kind of a nut. Oh, Mr. Jones, I'm a nervous wreck.
Maybe we better get right over to the TV station. The screen in the projection room is a lot bigger than a television set. You could probably tell for sure whether it was your friend that jumped off the bridge.
I just can't believe he'd do it, Mr. Jones. Especially not after he wrote me about how well he was doing out here.
How did he sign the letter?
All my love.
Well, now, any fella that signs a letter that way isn't thinking about jumping off any bridges.
Okay, I guess you're right.
Oh, we might find out something.
Hi.
Oh, this is my associate, Jedediah Jones. I have to warn you, at the very first opportunity, he'll ask you to call him JR.
Hi, I'm Wendy.
Hiya, Wendy. How are you? They found Father Moore's body outside the harbor entrance, but there's no sign of the other guy, Jim Anders.
Jim Wills. I tried to tell the police that.
Well, they're just going by what he was called on television.
When he called in on the hotline, he used the name Anders. Now, the question is, why would anyone contemplating suicide bother to lie about his name?
That's right. He wouldn't, would he?
Confess to the police, you out of your gourd? That's not gonna bring the priest back.
It'll get him off my head.
Sure. You're gonna mess up 2 other lives, man, yours and mine.
How do you ignore something that you see every time you close your eyes?
Hey, give it a little time. It'll go away. You'll forget about it. Look, I owed you 500. Here's another 500 on top of that. Okay, it's not gonna make you forget, not right away. But a grant's gonna go a long way to getting you back to Columbus, back to, what's her name, Wendy, huh? Wouldn't she rather have you free in Columbus than here in the slammer?
She's not in Columbus.
Wherever.
She's here. Look, I called back home last night. I had to talk to somebody and you weren't available. They said she flew out here. She wanted to surprise me.
Oh, that's some surprise.
Well, she probably went to my place when I didn't show up. Well, there's no telling where she is now.
The worst that happens is she flies back to Ohio.
Not if she saw me on the news last night. What if she thinks I'm dead?
Okay. Okay. I'll find her. Come on, I can do that. I got contacts on the hotline. Only you just keep your problem to yourself. Here, come on.
All right. Find her.
You gonna cool it?
Here's where I'm flopping in Venice, under the name Wilson.
Wait a minute. You gonna cool it?
If you don't take too long.
I don't know what a reporter can say to you. Nobody asked you to say anything. You want us to listen? Is that it? Yeah! Why not? Nobody else will. What's the problem? You have trouble at home? Your wife or your girlfriend?
Oh, my God.
You lose your job?
You're absolutely certain that's Jim?
Are you hooked on something?
Yes, it's Jim.
Mustache must be new.
Father Moore.
I could tell it was him just by hearing his voice.
What's your name?
That's all we need, thanks.
Jim Anders.
That'll do it, Fred. Thanks.
None of this makes any sense to me at all. Look. You see, read the part where it says he's been getting some work.
Apparently he figured might lead to some acting jobs on television. Pictures, maybe.
Well, it certainly doesn't sound like a guy with no future and no hope.
No, it certainly doesn't. Thank you, Miss Price.
Listen, there's something else that I think you ought to know about. Jim was on the diving team when he was in college.
Oh? High board or low board?
Tower. He used to even pretend like he was doing a comedy act, you know? He'd pretend like he was falling, and then right at the last minute, he'd cut the water just like a knife.
Then you think the idea of his selecting a high bridge to end it all just doesn't track?
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Steve, grab a camera and meet me in the parking lot, quick. I'll explain.
Girlfriend and detective.
But we can catch them before they leave the parking lot.
Hold it, Libby, not so fast. Why?
DeWitt, just think. A grief-stricken girlfriend, a dead priest, a fake name. That's the kind of story the network will pick up on.
What fake name?
Anders. The girl ID'd him as Jim Wills. And it gets better. She won't believe that he's dead. He was a high diver in college.
time or what? DeWitt?
Yeah, you go get him, Libby. I'll be there in 2 minutes.
First off, I think you ought to take a ride over to Jim's apartment. Hopefully he had some nosy neighbors who might be able to...
Mr. Jones! Mr. Jones! Oh, I'm so glad we caught you. Miss Milliken, we'd like very much to interview you for tonight's broadcast.
Me?
It's all about Jim, who he really is, how you came out here to be with him, and all about...
Please, I really don't think
I think an interview at this time is a little premature.
Okay, Libby. This is Wendy Milliken, who came here from Columbus, Ohio, to be with a man named Jim Wills.
Miss Milliken, you saw our news broadcast last night, and you recognized the man on that bridge as your fiancé?
Yes. No, I mean, no. Look, I wasn't sure.
Excuse me, Mr. Robinson, but Miss Milliken's been through an ordeal. I don't think you want to add to her grief, do you?
Who are you, sir?
Barnaby Jones, private investigator, hired by Miss Milliken to find her fiancé.
Mr. Jones, what's happening here is news.
I don't want to interfere with your First Amendment right to gather news, Mr. Robinson, but there is no news here yet.
But of course there is. Miss Milliken, I understand you refuse to believe that Jim's suicide attempt was successful.
Look, it wasn't a suicide. He wouldn't do that.
Look, no interview. Isn't that what you were just told?
He was a high diver, wasn't he?
Listen, I don't think I'm explaining this clear enough. You see, the young lady is worried about someone she loves and doesn't need a microphone stuck in her face.
Okay, Steve, that ought to give us enough for broadcast.
That's just about all you care about, isn't it?
Hey, Libby, you're on the ball, kid. This one ought to give us enough to milk for days if we play our cards right.
Barnaby, do you remember Cloris LaRue?
You mean the stripper with the snakes? Only what I read in the newspaper.
She used to live here.
How do you know?
I dated an actress here once.
Singers, actors, dancers, okay. But snakes? No way.
So you mean you just kicked Cloris out?
Not me. My mother, the manager.
When's the last time you saw Jim?
I haven't seen him since yesterday morning. But so what? I've stood up before.
You had a date with him?
Last night, he was supposed to take me to Le Chevalier.
Fancy schmancy. That's $70 a throw, isn't it?
It was to thank me, he said. I toss him a little salad and spaghetti when he has the shorts, you know. He's so grateful.
Struggling young actor, lands part in pictures, is that it?
He's more into stunts, I think. He's very athletic.
When did he give up acting?
When his acting teacher recommended it.
You know who that teacher was?
Let's see. Archer, Archette, Arche, silent T. French.
A-R-C-H-E-T, Arche. All right, I'll get right on it. Barnaby, are you planning to go into the theater?
I will if it's necessary to find out about Jim Wills.
Oh, Barnaby, Wendy called. It seems DeWitt Robinson phoned her, wanted to finish out that interview. She tried to say no, but...
How long ago was that?
Just a few minutes. Listen, I'd really like to know how he found out where she was.
He impresses me as the kind of a fellow who would find a potato bug in a bean barrel if he thought there was a story in it. I think Wendy needs us.
Wendy, what about the letter he sent you?
Oh, he said he had some work.
Why do you think he told us the exact opposite?
I don't know.
What kind of work?
He didn't say.
Wendy, if he did survive, as you believe, why do you think he hasn't come forward?
Well, maybe he's hurt or dazed or something.
Or hiding?
Why would he do that?
Afraid, maybe. Thinking he was responsible for the death of Father Moore?
But the priest grabbed him. How could that be Jim's fault?
That would depend on exactly why he was threatening to jump in the first place. You insist that he wasn't suicidal. Why then? Was it a publicity stunt?
Well, Barnaby?
This would be Barnaby Jones again, private investigator.
Are these folks invited guests?
No.
Then why don't we invite them out?
She opened the door for us.
It's still open. Why don't you use it?
What kind of camera is this, anyway? This is a zoom lens, right? Come on, these are really difficult.
All right, Steve, Libby, that's it.
Well, off the record, do you think he's still alive?
Off the record, no, but we're going to find out.
If you do, will you give me an exclusive?
Well, I've got one. How about an overly ambitious news hog who gets a trespassing rap laid on him if he ever pulls a stunt like this again?
Miss Milliken, you refuse to believe that Jim's suicide attempt was successful, is that right?
Look, it wasn't a suicide. He wouldn't do that.
No interview. Isn't that what you were just told? No
All right,
interview.
cut it there. Take him out completely, and Jones, too. And that new stuff, when it comes back from the lab, cut around both of them.
It's super footage, DeWitt. Too good for the locals.
Hey, wouldn't it be a trip if he was alive? He sees his girl on TV all choked up over him. Phew, that'd sure smoke him out of the woodwork.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Well, you go ahead and make the cuts. Be right back.
I hope he does it. Sees the broadcast, turns himself in. You think he'd get a year or two? 'Cause, I mean, that Wendy's a nice girl.
And you're romantic.
Yeah, this is Wilson. Where the hell have you been?
Locating your girlfriend, as promised.
You found Wendy?
I will have. By 6 o'clock tonight.
6 tonight?
6:30 at the latest. It's a sure thing.
Okay. Just call me right away.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to answer the phone a lot quicker than you did this time. Where were you?
Oh, I'm on the 3rd floor. The only phone is in the lobby.
It'll probably be while we're on the air with the news. I can only be on the phone for a few seconds at a time.
So I'll stand by the phone.
Well, look, between 6 and 6:30. Don't get impatient. You stay in the lobby and close to the phone, okay?
Right.
Now, you students certainly know what a rose is. A rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Listen, darling, please. Now, try to think of yourself as a beautiful, pink, fully opened blossom, not a bloomin' ragweed. Oh, well, I'm sorry, darling. Perhaps we should think of some other little flower. How about a nice, bright little yellow daisy? Would you like that? Marvelous. Over there, darling.
Mr. Archer?
Well, well, my dear sir, I'm not often privileged to hear my name properly pronounced. As a mark of my appreciation, I'm waiving the usual charge of admission.
Thank you. We appreciate that. My name is Barnaby Jones. This is my associate, Jedediah Jones.
Jedediah. Well, it's certainly a pleasure to meet you. And I can certainly use a young man of your talent. Jedediah. It's rather hard to keep young leading men, you know.
Like Jim Wills. I'd like to ask you a few questions about him.
Private investigator, eh? Well, I'll tell you anything except that he was a good actor.
Is that why you advised him to go into stunt work?
Oh, come now, Mr. Jones. It seems to me you've already done some investigation.
Some?
Well, Jim is very physical, of course, but you don't just go into stunt work.
You mean jobs like that are hard to find?
Well, he mentioned recently someone who was very good at opening doors.
Any idea who that may have been?
I had the impression it was a television person, someone of rather substantial influence. No, no, darling, a bright little yellow daisy. Excuse me, sir. She's the girlfriend of one of my backers. Now, darling, it's simply a matter of concentration.
Now, Barnaby, what television person named DeWitt Robinson do we know in this case?
Maybe we just don't know him well enough.
Ah, shucks. And just when I was beginning to like not seeing him.
But Jedediah, sometimes you have to wade through the hog wallow to get to the melons.
Well, I'll put on my high boots.
Hello. Yeah.
Hotel Brody, room 843, 9 o'clock tonight. Got it?
8:43, 9 o'clock. I'll be there.
Where's Wendy?
She's not here.
You promised me that she'd be here.
Oh, that's before I found out Wendy hired a private detective to find you, man.
Should have known better.
It's a temporary delay. It's temporary. And I'm telling you, that private detective is digging in pretty good. You got to get your story straight.
My story?
All right, we're both on the hook. Here. Take a look at that. That's $4,000. I want you to play one last scene in front of my camera.
What kind of scene?
I want you to play the same scene you were supposed to play before. Only this time you tell him it was a performance on that bridge, see? Father Moore believed it. All right, now you got such a case of the gills. This time, you're gonna do it for real. Without any water to land in.
Just tell me where Wendy is, man.
Oh, look, this time I talk you out of it.
I'll find her myself.
Wait, but look, they'll understand. All you're gonna get's probation.
Get out of my way!
It's too late. It was all on the air. Everything tonight.
What was on the air?
Your real name, interviews with Wendy, everything. Except the deal with me. Now look, Jim, it's all set up. We can do it this time.
No.
Get out of my way! I want to
$555-6219. Libby Price. Libby, I just heard from Jim Wills. He's at the Hotel Brody in the roof garden. Says he's going to try it again. Yeah.
Number one in the news market. That's where DeWitt Robinson's hotline put us. Sorry, it's the only chance I'll get. Sure you fellas won't join me.
No, thank you.
Mr. Monahan, how long has the hotline been in existence?
Oh, let's see, at least 5, maybe 6 months since DeWitt talked us into it. $50 cash for any news tip we use on the air. A regular viewer would know that.
Guess you found me out.
That made him into kind of a hero, didn't it?
Saved his job for him. And may get him a spot on a national show out of New York.
Mr. Robinson's stories all been on the sensational side, haven't they?
Yes, they have been lately, starting with the terrorists who blew up the abandoned power facility.
Oh, yeah, I remember that about a month and a half ago, right?
The hotline didn't pay off during the first few months, did it?
Right. Caught on just before option time.
Mr. Monahan, I wonder if you could supply us with a list of the stories that Mr. Robinson's hotline generated, along with the dates.
Well, I think I'd have to know why, Mr. Jones.
Kind of like to see how they stack up against the activities of the young man that went off the roof garden last night.
Jim Wills? You know what you're suggesting, manufactured news. That's a very serious accusation.
That's why we have to be sure before we make it. Kind of figured that you'd want to know one way or the other, too.
I'm very grateful to you, Betty. I really needed somebody, and you were there. Thank you.
Listen, if you'd like me to stick around for a while, I'd be more than happy to.
It's okay, thanks anyway, but I am really whipped.
Well, you have my number.
Yeah. Oh, Betty, why did this happen? I just don't understand any of this. I've got a whole life to replan, you know? And I just can't seem to do any of it until I find out what it was that happened.
Wendy, I'll make you this promise. Barnaby will never stop until all of this is explained.
Okay.
It's gonna be fine.
Wendy, Jim asked me to talk to you.
Jim?
Jim Wills was obviously very disturbed on that roof. He asked me to tell Wendy
how desperately sorry he was.
But he kept saying, if it hadn't been a priest, if it hadn't been a priest. Was Jim a religious man?
He respected life.
Yes, he respected life. That's why Jim Wills was so tortured a man.
And that's why he didn't commit suicide. He did not commit suicide. Do you hear me? He didn't have it in him. I don't care what you say. He didn't.
I was there. I tried to stop Jim Wills on that roof.
I can hear you trying to stop him. Don't jump, Jim. Don't jump. Not until you've told us your whole sad story. Oh, and turn your head this way a little bit so we can get your good side on the camera.
We can all understand
Well,
the
why don't you
sunshine
just
strip.
get out of here?
Why don't you put that one on the air, huh, Robinson?
Kill it.
Libby, I dropped by your station to see you. They said you were here.
You were right. I thought you came here to rescue me.
Well, I did, but you didn't look like you needed it.
Did you see the anchor man?
Monahan, yeah, I think we're on the right track. And I blew my little intimate interview with Libby the way I just came in here just now.
Oh, I kind of liked it myself.
Did you forget something?
To apologize. Sometimes DeWitt gets carried away. I'm really sorry for everything.
Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Jones, I thought you'd be finished asking questions about Jim. Now that he's not missing anymore.
I'm going to keep asking questions, Margie, until they're all answered, especially about his work.
His stunt jobs?
I not only want to know the nature of the job, but when he did it. Now, I compiled a list here in hopes it'll jog your memory.
Explosion, fire, robbery. Such dangerous work. Makes you wonder why.
Did he ever mention anything about a fire? About the 3rd of last month?
My memory. Can I tell you about my memory? The worst. Lucky we don't have to rely on it. I keep a journal.
A diary?
No, a journal. You know, my thoughts, feelings, character sketches. Whenever I meet somebody interesting. You're in it.
You want to be a writer, is that it?
John Boy started with a journal, didn't he? Here's what I have for the 3rd. The 3rd wasn't exactly what you call one of your banner days.
Shall we move along to the 4th?
Oh. Jim knocked on the door. It was 2 in the morning. He asked if there was any salve in the house. There was a burn on his hand.
Will Wendy be heading back to Ohio right away, do you think?
I don't know. She didn't say. Were you ever around when Robinson took one of his hotline calls?
Not lately. Do you think she'll talk to me? I mean, woman to woman. Wendy. Say, who's the reporter around here anyway? You keep answering my questions with questions. Why are you so interested in DeWitt?
It's my week for collecting jerks.
Is that what you want me to say? That he's a jerk? All right, he's a jerk.
Present company accepted, I hope.
Mr. Jones.
Sorry, but I have to borrow your friend. Something came up on the Wills case. I have a job for you.
Is that urgent?
I think so.
What can I say?
Yeah, we both have a lot in common. We're both slaves to our work.
Uh-huh.
Let me get this straight now. You say your name is Marjorie Hall and you're a neighbor of Jim Wills. Oh, I see. You're the landlady's daughter. You say he left you a letter? Confession? Confession to what? What happened on the bridge? I see. Well, yes, I'd like very much to look at the letter. I figured there'd be a price. What kind of money are you talking about?
Oh, I don't know. How's about $1 million?
Well, that's pretty steep. Take me a little while to raise that kind of money.
No kidding, you could have fooled me.
Well, I'll try. But in the meantime, don't sell the letter to anyone else.
Libby, get me DeWitt, quick. Oh, well, look, when he gets back, just to tie him down, lock him in his office, anything. I've got to see him.
Hey, Bobby, who's got more money than the network, huh? That's right, nobody. Yeah, so squeeze him a little. Yeah, but don't blow the deal, okay? Yeah, right.
DeWitt, oh, I'm glad I caught you.
Hey, Libby, just in time, grab a glass and I'll give you one guess.
DeWitt, New York's come through with an offer.
My agent's negotiating the deal. Cheers, babe. Joni said you had something hot. What is it?
Yep. Jim Wills left a letter. It's a confession of some sort about what happened on the bridge.
Left it where?
With his landlady's daughter, Margie Hall. I don't know what it's about, DeWitt, but it sounded pretty important, and it has to be something that you can use tonight when you wrap that story.
Yeah. Well, you did the right thing, babe. Really on the ball. Yeah. I'll handle it, okay?
Well, don't you want to know how I found out? DeWitt?
Right, hold your horses. Oh.
Margie Hall?
You win first prize. Who wants to know?
DeWitt Robinson.
Well, been reading an awful lot about you lately.
All right, if you're talking about the letter, let's get at it.
Letter? What letter?
If you don't know, baby, forget about it.
Come on. Word do get around on it. Are you making an offer?
I might be interested.
Could be worth a lot.
Depends on what's in it.
Judge for yourself. That's a copy, of course. I made it down in my local friendly neighborhood drugstore. Girl can't be too careful in matters like this, huh? Did he spell your name right, honey?
Man was in the wrong business. He should have been a comedy writer.
What are you saying? This is a fiction?
Of the bad pulp variety.
Yeah, I don't know. It looked like a confession to me. I mean, at this late date, why should the guy lie, huh? I figure the police are gonna think that.
A man in my position is always vulnerable to this kind of slander. And I find it less damaging in the long run to pay off than to fight back. You understand that?
Seems like a reasonable attitude.
Yes. And how much is reasonable? And how fast do you think you want it?
Barnaby.
He went for the bait.
Bet he did okay?
Yeah, even though Marge wasn't crazy about the impersonation, she got the job done.
Where is the payoff gonna be?
By the monkey cages at the old zoo.
Yeah, I think I know where that is. What time?
This afternoon, 4 o'clock.
All right. Will you get things going? Okay, good enough. Talk to you later.
Rotten business, isn't it?
Yours or mine?
Both. You set me up, and I set him up. It's just that I could have stopped him, but I didn't.
And you shouldn't have. Livy, look. The fraud that Robinson perpetrated on the public is nothing compared to the crime he committed against the name of every TV newsman in the business, including you. I mean, he's responsible for the death of Father Moore, if not Jim Wells.
How did you know that I wasn't in on it?
Well, you would have been at Margie's place waiting for him. If you thought you had equal billing in that letter. Come on, we better go.
We?
Well, you don't want another station to get a scoop on your own story, do you? You're a reporter, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
And that's the final Robinson report on the short life and tragic death of Jim Wills. In fact, the final Robinson report you'll be seeing locally on this station. Beginning Monday, we'll be seen a half an hour later on the network news originating from New York. This is DeWitt Robinson, and that's a wrap.
I want to thank you, Charlie, for letting me tape in advance. I had to stick around and do that live. Never made the plane.
No problem, DeWitt. I'm just sorry this will be your last show here. We're going to miss Robinson's report, not to mention the ratings on our 6 o'clock news.
Yeah, well, you'll come up with something.
Well, good luck in New York, DeWitt.
Thanks, Charlie.
Over here.
Stupid place to meet. Why'd you pick it?
I watch a lot of television.
Come on, let's get it over with. And I want the original.
So do I. If you get my meaning.
All right. That's it. We're through. You understand that, Miss Hall. Finished.
Yes, I do believe that is the word for it, Mr. Robinson. Finished.
Robin! Don't try it, Robin. Don't try, Robinson. Robin! You're under arrest, Robinson. Suspicion of murder.
By exchanging the money for what he believed to be an incriminating letter, TV news personality DeWitt Robinson has verified his part in the planning and execution of fraudulent stories.
You're still on the ball, aren't you, Libby? Oh, I taught you pretty good, huh?
You were wrong about one thing. I don't think I'll ever get used to it.
Oh, sure. For old time's sake?
Lieutenant.
All right. What am I gonna say? You want me to tell you that the news at 6 o'clock isn't real? Oh, hell, it's real enough.
We just dramatize it a little for you, that's all. That's all. We don't want you to tune us off. We edit, we select. We go out on a bridge when somebody's gonna jump, because you want to see it. Nobody wanted that priest to die. Jim Wills agonized over it more than I did. That's why we were dancing around on the roof garden of that hotel, but I don't have to tell you that. You were there. You saw it. Living color. Last night, you saw it. You make up your own moral. Because I'm tired. It's DeWitt Robinson. And that's a wrap.
Well, we know that wasn't a fake.
But I'm afraid that Jim's feeling for me was.
Not according to our friend Margie. Oh, he liked her, all right, but she said that his mind was always on you.
He knew I was in town. Why didn't he try to find me?
Because DeWitt kept him from it. His biggest concern was for you, Wendy. All he wanted was to take his lumps for the accidental death of the priest, find you, and start over.
Are you really sure about that?
I just talked to DeWitt. That's why I stopped by here. Thought you'd like to know.
Oh, I did want to know that. Thank you, Libby. I guess I can go home now, Mr. Jones. I think I'm going to be all right.
I never doubted it for a moment.
Aw. Well, wouldn't you know it? I forgot to ask my cab to wait.
Well, now, I think I just happen to be going in your direction.
What direction is that, Jedediah?
South, west, north, whatever.
Out, you two.
The night had already settled over Los Angeles when Barnaby Jones received the telephone call that would turn an ordinary evening into the beginning of a most unusual investigation. He had been sitting quietly in his office, surrounded by the familiar evidence of his profession. There were files stacked neatly on the desk, an old telephone within easy reach, and the faint smell of coffee that Betty had prepared earlier in the evening. Nothing suggested that the night would be different from any other. Then the telephone rang. Barnaby lifted the receiver. He listened. His expression changed almost immediately. The caller was Kate Corman, a woman who had traveled a long way because she could no longer accept not knowing where her husband was. Danny Corman had disappeared. Not disappeared in the ordinary sense. He had joined a private military organization after their financial troubles had become overwhelming. Kate had been ill, and the medical expenses had placed enormous pressure on the couple. Danny had believed that taking a position with the organization would give him the money they needed. At first he had written. Then the letter stopped. 3 weeks had passed without a word. Kate had contacted the organization herself, but the answers she received were confusing and strangely cold. They claimed there was no record of Danny Corman. Barnaby knew immediately that something about the situation did not make sense. People disappeared for many reasons. Sometimes they wanted to disappear. Sometimes circumstances forced them to. And sometimes, when a person disappeared after joining an organization that seemed determined to pretend he had never existed, there was a third possibility. Someone wanted him to remain invisible. Barnaby had spent enough years as a private investigator to understand that the smallest contradiction could be more valuable than a room full of documents. He promised Kate that he would investigate. Betty looked at him afterward. She knew that expression. It was the expression Barnaby wore whenever an apparently simple case had begun to become complicated. You should learn not to promise things unless you can deliver, she told him. Barnaby smiled. I know. Then he added that he had a feeling this case might be larger than finding one missing man.
He was right.
Far away from the quiet office, another world was already preparing for something very different. A group of recruits stood beneath the harsh lights of a training facility. They were exhausted. They had been running, climbing, carrying equipment, and enduring one test after another. Their instructors expected absolute discipline. Questions were discouraged. Hesitation was treated as weakness. Colonel Folsom watched them carefully. To him, the men were not individuals. They were recruits. Numbers. Potential soldiers. He believed that men who were willing to place themselves in danger could be transformed through training into something stronger. But there was another truth about the group. Many of the recruits did not understand what they had joined. Some had come for money. Some had come looking for adventure.
Some wanted to prove themselves.
And some simply wanted to escape the disappointments of ordinary life. Among them was a young man who called himself Lobo. He had never served in the Marines, despite allowing people to believe that he had. He had always wanted to be part of something important, something bigger than himself. He had kept himself in good physical condition and imagined that military experience would give his life a sense of purpose. Instead, the training quickly taught him that imagination and reality were very different things. Lobo struggled through the obstacle course. Another recruit encouraged him. Come on, you can make it. Lobo shook his head. I never expected anything like this. The other man laughed. You cannot tell me you never did anything like this in the Corps. Lobo hesitated. Then he admitted the truth. I lied. The other man stared at him. I was never in the Corps. For a moment there was silence. Then they continued. It was one of the first small reminders that beneath the tough appearance of the organization were ordinary people, each carrying his own fears, dreams, and mistakes. At the same time, Barnaby was beginning to discover that Danny Corman had not simply vanished. Danny had been sent to Los Angeles. He had joined the group almost immediately. Kate had received 2 letters from him, then nothing. The explanation offered by the organization was that they had no record of him. Barnaby did not believe it. Neither did Kate. She admitted something else to Betty. Perhaps Danny no longer wanted to return. Perhaps, she feared, he had decided that his life would be easier without her. Betty listened patiently. Kate explained that Danny had always struggled to find work he enjoyed. He had drifted from one job to another. He had hated routine. He had wanted something more. Then Kate had become ill. Danny had seen the bills piling up. He had felt helpless. So he had joined the private military group. Kate believed that her illness had pushed him away. Betty disagreed. If you really love each other, she said, then that is what matters. Kate looked down. Yes, she said quietly. I think we do. Betty smiled. Then he did not leave you. Those words mattered. Because while Barnaby was following clues, Kate was struggling with something more personal. She was not merely trying to locate a missing husband. She was trying to find out whether the man she loved was still the same man who had once promised to stand beside her. And somewhere inside the training compound, Danny Corman was facing a similar question. Was he still the man Kate knew? Or had the organization already changed him? Danny was training with the special unit. The men were being prepared for a mission that was described as revolutionary. They were told they would help liberate an entire country. The language was grand. Freedom. Justice.
Change.
But the reality was much less noble. A wealthy businessman named Richard Longwood was financing the operation. Longwood had interests in the Middle East. His plan was not simply to make money. He wanted political influence. He wanted a particular leader installed. And he was prepared to use mercenaries to make that happen. The recruits did not know everything. Most were never supposed to know everything. That was the nature of the organization. Information was divided. One person knew one part. Another knew another. Only the people at the top could see the entire picture. That arrangement made the organization difficult to understand. But it also created weaknesses. because people were not machines. They remembered old friendships. They cared about other people. They made mistakes. And they sometimes chose loyalty to a friend over obedience to an order. Barnaby Jones soon became one of those unexpected weaknesses. He applied to the organization under an assumed purpose, hoping to discover what had happened to Danny. The secretary at the front office questioned him. She asked where he had heard about the organization. Barnaby gave the answer he had prepared. He had seen an advertisement in a magazine. He asked where they would be fighting. She told him she did not know. He asked who would be in charge. She told him that information was classified. Barnaby smiled. He was polite. He was curious. Perhaps too curious. The organization noticed. Barnaby filled out the questionnaire. The questions became increasingly disturbing. Was he willing to kill without question? Had he ever been confined to a mental institution? Did he love his country? Barnaby quickly realized that this was not an ordinary employment opportunity. He also learned something else. The organization paid $300 a week. For some men, that was enough money to risk everything. But Barnaby wondered how many of them understood what they were risking. Betty had been right. Young recruits were easier to discipline. They asked fewer questions. They had fewer reasons to doubt the people giving them orders. Barnaby, however, had never been very good at ignoring questions. He was also not very good at pretending that people were merely pieces on a board. He wanted to know where Danny was. And he wanted to know why Kate's husband had been erased from the organization's records. Eventually, Barnaby received the call. He had been accepted. The next step was training. He entered the compound with the other recruits. The instructor addressed them with absolute authority. He told them that men had always been fascinated by the thin line between danger and glory. He told them they had come there because they believed they were such men. Now, the organization would determine whether they were right. The recruits were told that their old lives were temporarily over. No newspapers. No radios. No television. No ordinary telephone calls. They belonged to the organization. Barnaby listened. He did not like the sound of that. But he had not come there to like it. He had come to find Danny. The training began. Barnaby discovered that the organization expected obedience, endurance, and silence. He also discovered that the other recruits were not quite the hardened professionals they pretended to be. Some were frightened. Some were exhausted.
Some were simply confused.
One of them, Lobo, was particularly overwhelmed. Barnaby watched him struggle through the physical exercises. Instead of mocking him, Barnaby encouraged him. There was something about the young man that reminded Barnaby of the difference between wanting to be brave and actually being brave. Lobo wanted to prove himself, but he did not yet understand what he was proving. Meanwhile, Kate continued waiting. Her greatest fear was that Danny would not want to come home. She had imagined all the possible explanations. Perhaps he had become angry. Perhaps he had changed. Perhaps he had decided that their marriage was too difficult. Betty refused to let her believe the worst. People sometimes made decisions because they were afraid. They sometimes ran toward opportunities because they believed those opportunities would save the people they loved. That did not necessarily mean they had stopped loving them. Kate wanted to believe that. And then, at the training compound, something happened that changed everything. Barnaby finally saw Danny. The reunion was unexpected. Danny was shocked. "What are you doing here?" Barnaby told him that Kate had been trying to contact him. Danny looked confused. He claimed not to understand. But Barnaby knew something was wrong. Danny could not openly speak. The organization was watching. The two men were separated almost immediately. Others noticed that they knew each other. Someone mentioned that Danny's wife had been calling repeatedly. That created another problem. If the organization discovered why Barnaby was there, the investigation would be over. Barnaby might not leave the compound freely. He had to be careful. He continued investigating from inside. Outside, Betty and the others worked on the case from another direction. They discovered that the organization's office had disappeared. The company had moved. There were no useful records. No forwarding address.
No convenient paper trail.
A woman named Lucy Todd had been connected to the operation, but even she had been difficult to trace. Barnaby realized that the organization had been designed to leave as little evidence as possible. But people make mistakes. A telephone number was discovered. That number became another piece of the puzzle. Betty contacted the phone company. The results were confusing. There was no obvious connection to Barnaby's investigation. But Barnaby had learned long ago that a dead end was not always a dead end. Sometimes it was simply a door that had not yet been opened. Inside the compound, the situation became more dangerous. The organization had discovered that Barnaby was a private investigator. Danny had already admitted that he knew him. Colonel Folsom was informed. Barnaby was now under suspicion. Someone suggested getting rid of him. Folsom refused to make the decision immediately. He wanted Danny to handle it. Danny understood exactly what that meant. He was being asked to choose between the organization and his old friend. The choice was made even more difficult because Danny knew something Barnaby did not. The planned mission was not going to happen somewhere far away. It was going to happen in Los Angeles. The supposed revolution was connected to a political assassination. The target was a Middle Eastern leader who had arrived in the area. Barnaby had entered the organization looking for one missing man. He had now discovered a plot that could create an international crisis. Danny finally found a moment to speak privately with Barnaby. He told him the truth. Barnaby listened. He immediately understood that getting Danny out would be almost impossible. Danny believed they could not escape together. But Barnaby refused to abandon him. Danny explained that someone had to get outside. Someone had to bring help. Barnaby still refused. Danny finally offered a desperate solution. They would make it appear that Barnaby had been attacked. The plan was risky. But Danny knew that if Barnaby remained inside, neither of them would have much of a chance. They arranged the scene. For a moment, it seemed convincing. But the organization was testing them. The weapon had not been loaded with live ammunition. The supposed attack had been staged. Danny realized immediately that his loyalty was being questioned. He had passed the test. But he hated it. He had never wanted to hurt Barnaby. He had only wanted to protect him. The organization decided that Barnaby would accompany them on the mission. That way, if he disappeared, it could simply be assumed that he had failed to survive. Barnaby was now trapped. But outside the organization, his friends were getting closer to the truth. The telephone records had revealed the name Richard Longwood. Longwood was a billionaire oil speculator with interests throughout the Middle East. Barnaby's colleagues began connecting the pieces. A private military organization, a missing American, a wealthy businessman, a political leader, an alleged revolution, and a planned visit to Los Angeles. Suddenly, the case was no longer personal. It was international. Barnaby decided to confront Longwood. He went to meet him. Longwood was having lunch with the political leader. The setting was almost absurdly peaceful. The men were discussing politics, development, and the future. Longwood spoke about sending experts and technology to help a country progress rapidly. The leader listened. But he was cautious. He understood that assistance could become control. A nation could accept help and eventually discover that the people who came to teach them had become the people making their decisions. The conversation was polite. But beneath the politeness was a struggle over power. Outside, security personnel watched carefully. Barnaby arrived. He introduced himself as a private investigator. He wanted to speak with Longwood. But circumstances made that difficult. The political leader had his own security. The local police were present as observers. Everything appeared orderly. Then, an unexpected distraction occurred. One of the recruits became seriously ill. He complained of intense pain. The others were uncertain what to do. The colonel was forced to send him to a hospital. It was a small interruption. But small interruptions can change the course of events. The organization was preparing to move. The operation would begin soon. Barnaby's friends realized they had little time. Betty received a telephone call from a man named Steve Barker. He claimed to be with J.R. Jones and the others. He said that Barnaby's associate was being held by the Mercenaries. He also said Danny Corman was there. The organization was preparing to attack an estate in Los Angeles. Their target was the political leader. Betty tried to determine where the attack would occur. The caller did not know, but Barnaby had already discovered enough. They were going to be early. The organization moved toward the estate. The men approached carefully. They expected guards. They expected resistance. Instead, the place appeared strangely quiet. There were no obvious guards. Even the absence of a dog seemed suspicious. One of the men wondered whether they had simply been lucky. Another believed that the security had been concentrated elsewhere. They decided to continue. The limousine was still there. That seemed almost too easy. Barnaby had learned to distrust anything that appeared too convenient. The mercenaries moved forward. Then everything changed. Their plan began to collapse. The people they expected to find were not as helpless as they had imagined. The operation had been compromised. Longwood found himself facing the consequences of the plan he had paid others to carry out. The men who had been recruited to change history suddenly realized that history was not as easy to control as they had been promised. Barnaby and his allies managed to protect the intended target. The immediate danger passed. The plan failed. The truth began to emerge. Longwood had attempted to use money, ambition, and mercenary force to shape political events. But he had underestimated ordinary human loyalty. He had underestimated Danny. He had underestimated Barnaby. And perhaps most importantly, he had underestimated the young recruits who were beginning to realize what they had actually joined. The aftermath was quieter than the operation itself. Police took Lucy Todd into custody at the hospital. Reed was found while attempting to reach Longwood. The organization was falling apart. Danny was finally free. Kate arrived. For a moment, neither of them spoke. She had spent so long imagining that she might never see him again. Now he was standing in front of her. Danny looked at her. She looked at him. All the explanations in the world seemed unnecessary. She had wanted to know whether he still loved her. Now she knew. Danny had made mistakes. He had made choices that frightened her. He had disappeared when she needed him. But he had never stopped caring. He had joined the organization because he believed he could solve their financial problems. His decision had nearly separated them forever. Yet the experience had taught him something that no amount of money could have taught him. A person's value was not measured by how impressive his work sounded. It was not measured by how much money he earned. And it certainly was not measured by how fearless he appeared. Sometimes courage was simply admitting that you had made a mistake. Sometimes courage meant asking for help. Sometimes it meant choosing a friend when an organization demanded obedience. Danny looked at Barnaby. "JR, how can I ever thank you?" Barnaby smiled. "You can start by making Kate happy." Danny looked toward his wife. Kate smiled. For once, there was nothing complicated about the answer. The danger was over. The organization had failed. The political leader was safe. And Danny was going home. Barnaby's investigation had begun with the missing husband. It had uncovered a much larger conspiracy. But in the end, the most important part of the case was not the billionaire, the mercenaries, or the political intrigue. It was the people. Kate had waited for the man she loved. Danny had found the courage to protect his friend. Lobo had learned that pretending to be fearless was not the same as becoming brave. Barnaby had once again discovered that curiosity could lead a person into unexpected places. And Betty had proven that sometimes the most important part of an investigation was not a clever clue or a secret telephone number. Sometimes it was simply listening to another human being. As everyone prepared to leave, the atmosphere finally became lighter. Barnaby was asked how he felt. He paused. After everything that had happened, after the exhaustion, uncertainty, and long hours of investigation, there was only one answer. It felt good. Very good. Perhaps that was the real lesson of the strange case. Life rarely follows the plan we make for it. A man may join an organization believing he is solving a financial problem and discover that what he really needs is to return home. A young recruit may enter a training camp hoping to become a hero and discover that true courage has very little to do with appearances. A woman may fear that the person she loves has abandoned her and discover that love was there all along. And a private investigator may begin looking for one missing man only to uncover an international conspiracy. The world can be complicated. People can make mistakes. Plans can go wrong. But friendship, love, and loyalty have a remarkable way of surviving circumstances that seem impossible. Danny had gone looking for a way to help his family. Instead, he found himself caught inside a dangerous organization. Barnaby had gone looking for Danny. Instead, he found himself inside the same organization. Kate had gone looking for answers. Instead, she found the man she loved. And perhaps that was why the case stayed with Barnaby long after the files had been closed. Not because of the secrets he had uncovered. Not because of the powerful people involved. But because beneath all the mystery, the story had always been about ordinary people trying to make the right choice when circumstances made the right choice difficult. Barnaby looked toward Danny and Kate. They were together again. That was enough. The city outside continued moving.
Cars passed.
Lights appeared in windows. People returned home from work. Restaurants filled with evening customers. Somewhere, someone was probably complaining about dinner. Somewhere else, someone was probably late for an appointment. The ordinary world had continued while the investigation unfolded. And that was perhaps the strangest thing about it. Extraordinary events could happen in the middle of ordinary life. A telephone could ring. A stranger could arrive. A missing husband could suddenly become the center of an international conspiracy. A quiet office could become the starting point of a dangerous investigation. Yet eventually, the world returned to normal. Barnaby returned to his office. Betty returned to her typewriter. The coffee was still there. The files were still waiting. And somewhere in the city, another mystery was probably already beginning. Barnaby smiled. He had learned something over the years. A detective could never predict where the next case would lead. But if there was one thing he could count on, it was that people were always more complicated than they appeared. Some were looking for money. Some were looking for adventure. Some were looking for redemption. Some were simply looking for the person they loved. And occasionally, if they were lucky, they found exactly what they were looking for. Danny and Kate had found each other again. That was worth more than any paycheck. More than any mission. More than any promise of glory. Because in the end, the greatest victory was not defeating an enemy. It was finding your way back home. The following morning, Barnaby returned to the office with a strange feeling that the case had ended too quickly. There was no longer an urgent telephone call waiting for him. No frightened woman standing at the door. No mysterious organization pretending that a missing man had never existed. No secret training compound. No hidden telephone number. And yet Barnaby knew better than most people that the end of an investigation did not always arrive at the same moment as the end of the danger. Betty was already at her desk. She looked up when he entered. "You are early." Barnaby removed his coat. "After the week we have had, I thought being late might be considered suspicious." Betty smiled. "You are beginning to sound like one of those recruits." Barnaby laughed. "I hope not." He sat down. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. The office was quiet. Almost too quiet. Barnaby looked at the files on his desk. Then he looked at Betty. "Coffee." "Already made." "That may be the best news I have heard all week." Betty poured him a cup. Barnaby took it carefully and leaned back. The previous days seemed almost unreal now. The training compound. The recruits.
Danny.
Longwood. The strange conversations. The elaborate plan. The failed operation. And finally Kate and Danny together again. Barnaby had seen many investigations end with arrests, courtrooms, and paperwork. This one had ended differently. It had ended with a family reunited. That mattered. Betty sat across from him. "You were right about one thing." Barnaby raised an eyebrow. "Only one." "The case was bigger than finding Danny." Barnaby nodded. "Yes. But you were also wrong about something." "What was that?" "You said it might be simple." Barnaby smiled. "I do not remember saying that." "You did." "Then I was clearly mistaken." They both laughed. The laughter was small, but it felt good. After everything they had witnessed, ordinary laughter seemed almost precious. A few hours later, Kate and Danny came to the office. They looked different. Not physically. Something else had changed. They seemed lighter. Danny still carried the seriousness that had developed during his time with the organization, but there was warmth in his expression now. Kate held his hand. Barnaby stood to greet them. "I hope everything is all right." Kate smiled. "For the first time in a long time, I think it is." Danny nodded.
"I owe you a lot."
Barnaby waved the compliment away. "You owe me nothing." "That is not true." Barnaby looked at Kate. "If you really want to repay me, take care of each other." Kate smiled. "We intend to." Danny glanced toward Betty. "And thank you, too." Betty looked surprised. "I did not do much." "You listened to Kate. That can sometimes be more important than anything else." Danny nodded. He understood that now. There was a silence. Then Barnaby asked the question that had been sitting in his mind. "What are you going to do now?" Danny looked at Kate. Kate looked back at him. For a moment they both seemed uncertain. Then Danny smiled. "Go home." It was a simple answer, but it carried everything. Home was not merely a house. It was a place where someone waited, a place where mistakes could be admitted, a place where a person did not have to pretend to be stronger, tougher, or more important than he really was. Danny had spent weeks surrounded by men who constantly talked about courage. But now he understood that the hardest thing he could do was sometimes simply return to the person he loved and admit that he had been wrong. Kate seemed to understand exactly what he meant. She squeezed his hand. Barnaby watched them. He had no doubt that the two of them still had problems to solve. The medical bills had not magically disappeared. The financial worries were still real. Their lives would not suddenly become perfect. But they had something more valuable than perfection. They had another chance. And sometimes another chance was all anyone needed. After Danny and Kate left, Betty looked at Barnaby. "You know, I think that was your favorite kind of ending." Barnaby looked at her. "What makes you say that?" "No one died." Barnaby smiled. "I suppose that is a reasonable requirement." And the couple stayed together. Also important. And you got to solve the mystery. Definitely important. Betty shook her head. "You really do enjoy this." Barnaby looked around the office. "I enjoy helping people." Betty smiled. "That is not quite the same thing." "No," Barnaby said. "It is better." The telephone rang. Both of them looked at it. Barnaby slowly reached for the receiver. Betty laughed. "Another mystery?" Barnaby listened. His expression became thoughtful. He covered the receiver with his hand. "It is a client." Betty nodded. "Of course." Barnaby returned to the call. The conversation was brief. When he put the receiver down, Betty was waiting. "What is it?" Barnaby looked at the mountain of paperwork on his desk. "Someone wants help finding a lost dog." Betty stared at him. "A lost dog." That is what he said. After everything they had just survived, the request seemed almost wonderfully ordinary. Barnaby stood. "Come on." "Where?" "To find the dog." Betty smiled. "You are serious?" "Every case matters to somebody." They left the office. Outside, Los Angeles was already busy. The streets were filled with people going about their lives. Some were rushing. Some were waiting. Some were laughing. Some were worried. Most had no idea how close their ordinary world had come to becoming the center of an international crisis. And perhaps that was how life usually worked. The greatest dangers were often invisible to the people who were simply trying to get through the day. But so were the greatest acts of kindness. A stranger holding a door. A friend answering a telephone call. A wife refusing to give up hope. A man choosing loyalty instead of obedience. A young recruit admitting that he had lied. None of those actions would make headlines, yet they could change lives. Barnaby understood that better now. He had spent his career looking for clues. But sometimes the most important clues were not fingerprints, documents, or telephone records. Sometimes they were the things people did when nobody was watching. Danny had shown his loyalty when it mattered most. Kate had shown her love by refusing to stop searching. Betty had shown compassion by listening. And Barnaby had simply done what he believed was right. Perhaps that was enough. The car moved slowly through the city. Betty looked out the window. "You know," she said, "after all this, I think I would prefer a quiet case." Barnaby smiled. "So would I." "You promise?" "I promise." Betty looked at him suspiciously. "You said that before." Barnaby laughed. "I did." And look what happened. They continued down the street. Neither of them knew what the next telephone call would bring. Perhaps it would be another missing person. Perhaps a forgotten inheritance. Perhaps a family disagreement. Perhaps, if they were lucky, simply a lost dog. Whatever it was, Barnaby would investigate, because people needed help. And sometimes the difference between losing hope and finding it was simply having someone willing to keep looking. That was what the case had taught him. Not every mystery ended with a dramatic revelation. Some ended quietly. Some ended with a handshake. Some ended with two people going home together. And sometimes the greatest ending of all was simply knowing that someone who had been lost had finally been found. Danny Corman had been found. Kate had found him. And in finding him, they had both found something else. They had found their way back to one another. The city disappeared behind them as the car continued forward. The morning sun was brighter now. The difficult days were behind them. For the moment, Barnaby glanced at Betty. "Do you know what I like about this job?" "What?" "There is always another story." Betty smiled. "And another cup of coffee." Barnaby nodded seriously. "Of course." They drove on. And somewhere ahead, another mystery was waiting. But for now, the city was peaceful. For now, people were going home. And for now, that was enough. The search for the lost dog turned out to be considerably more complicated than Barnaby had expected. By the time he and Betty reached the neighborhood, the owner had already telephoned twice to explain that the animal had disappeared from the backyard sometime during the night. Barnaby listened carefully. Betty took notes. The owner described the dog as friendly, curious, and unusually fond of chasing delivery trucks. Barnaby frowned. That last detail may be important. Betty looked at him. "Why?" "Because it gives us a motive." She stared at him for a moment. Then she laughed. Barnaby smiled. "I was joking." "I know." It felt good to laugh again. After the strange events surrounding Danny Corman, a missing dog seemed almost absurdly peaceful. But Barnaby approached the investigation with the same patience he brought to every case. He spoke to neighbors. He checked the streets. He examined the backyard. Eventually, they discovered that the dog had followed a delivery driver through an open gate. The animal was found 2 streets away, sitting beside a small grocery store as though it had been waiting patiently for someone to notice it. The owner was overjoyed. Barnaby watched the reunion. The dog immediately jumped into its owner's arms. Betty smiled. "There is your happy ending." Barnaby nodded. Sometimes they are easier to find than people. The remark stayed with him. People were complicated. People could hide their feelings. They could disappear because of fear. They could pretend to be strong when they were frightened. They could make decisions that hurt the people they loved. But animals were often simpler. They knew who they trusted. They knew where they belonged. And when they were reunited with someone they loved, they did not waste time explaining why they had been gone. They simply came home. Barnaby wondered whether people could learn something from that. The thought reminded him of Danny. Danny had spent so much time trying to solve everything alone. He had believed that taking a dangerous job was the responsible thing to do. He had believed that money would solve the problem. He had believed that strength meant carrying everything without asking anyone for help. But perhaps strength was something else. Perhaps strength meant knowing when to stop pretending that you could handle everything alone. That evening, Barnaby received a letter. It was from Danny. The message was short. Danny thanked him again. He also mentioned that he and Kate were planning to begin again. They had decided to simplify their lives. No grand promises. No dramatic plans. Just the two of them, taking one day at a time. Barnaby read the letter twice. Then he placed it carefully inside the case file. Betty watched him. You are keeping it? Yes. Why? Because every case leaves something behind. She looked at the letter. What does this one leave behind? Barnaby thought for a moment. Hope. Betty nodded. That is a good thing to keep. The office became quiet again. The evening light came through the window. For a moment Barnaby simply sat there. He thought about how quickly circumstances could change. A week earlier, Kate had arrived frightened and uncertain. She had not known whether Danny was alive, whether he had abandoned her, or whether something had happened to him. Now she knew. The truth had been difficult, but it had been better than uncertainty. There was a lesson in that. Truth was not always comfortable, but uncertainty could become its own kind of burden. People sometimes avoided difficult conversations because they were afraid of the answers. Yet avoiding the truth did not make the problem disappear. It simply allowed fear to fill the empty space. Kate had finally confronted that fear. Danny had finally confronted his mistakes. And Barnaby had helped them find each other again. The next morning, Barnaby received another unexpected visitor. It was Lobo. The young recruit stood awkwardly near the doorway. Barnaby recognized him immediately. You made it out. Lobo smiled. Eventually. Barnaby invited him inside. Lobo looked around the office. This is where you work? Yes. I expected something bigger. Barnaby laughed. So did I. Lobo sat down. He seemed uncomfortable. Barnaby poured him coffee. Lobo accepted it. I wanted to thank you. For what? For believing I could make it. Barnaby shook his head. You made it yourself. I almost quit. Almost does not count. Lobo smiled. I suppose not. They talked for a while. Lobo admitted that he had been ashamed of his lie about military service. He had wanted people to think he was brave. He had believed that admitting fear would make him look weak. Barnaby listened. Then, he said something Lobo would remember for a long time. Being afraid does not make you weak. Pretending you are never afraid can make you careless. Lobo nodded. He understood. The training had taught him how to run, climb, and endure exhaustion. But the experience had taught him something more important. He had learned that courage was not the absence of fear. It was the decision to keep moving while fear was present. He had also learned that the people beside him mattered. That lesson had come from Danny. Danny could have protected himself. Instead, he had protected Barnaby. That decision had changed everything. Lobo stood. I think I know what I want to do now. Barnaby smiled. What? Find honest work. Betty laughed from the other side of the office. That sounds like an excellent plan. Lobo smiled. Thank you. He left. Barnaby watched him walk away. Betty approached. You think he will be all right? I think so. He seemed different. He is different. Betty nodded. Maybe that is what all of this was really about. Barnaby looked at her. What do you mean? People changing. Barnaby considered the idea. Danny had changed. Lobo had changed. Kate had changed. Even Barnaby had changed in some small way. The case had reminded him that investigations were not only about discovering what happened. Sometimes they were about discovering what happened to people, what experiences did to them, what choices did to them, and whether they could choose differently afterward. That afternoon, Barnaby closed the file on Danny Corman. He wrote the final note. The missing man had been located. The conspiracy had been stopped. The relevant authorities had been notified. The family had been reunited. The case was closed. He placed the file on the shelf. Then he looked at the shelves around it. Hundreds of cases. Hundreds of stories. Some had ended happily. Some had not. But every one of them represented people who had needed help. Barnaby had never been able to solve every problem. No investigator could.
But he could always try.
That was enough. The telephone rang again. Betty looked at him. Barnaby looked at the telephone. Neither moved. The ringing continued. Finally, Betty said, "Are you going to answer that?" Barnaby sighed. "I suppose I should." He picked up the receiver. Barnaby Jones. There was a pause. The voice on the other end sounded nervous. Barnaby listened. His expression slowly changed. Betty noticed. She knew that look. Another mystery had begun. Barnaby asked several questions. Then he wrote something down. He thanked the caller and hung up. Betty waited. "What is it?" Barnaby looked at her. "A missing person." Betty raised an eyebrow. "Of course." "What?" "Nothing." Barnaby smiled. "I have a feeling this one will be simple." Betty laughed. "You said that last time." Barnaby shook his head. "All right, I will never say that again." They gathered their things. The city was waiting outside. Another street. Another door. Another person with a story that needed to be heard. Barnaby stepped outside. He paused for a moment. The sun was beginning to set. He looked toward the horizon. The previous case had reminded him that people could become lost in many different ways. Some became lost because they made a wrong decision. Some became lost because they were afraid. Some became lost because they believed nobody would come looking. And sometimes, all a person needed was one person willing to say, "I will find you." Barnaby had said those words to Kate. He had said them to Danny. And in some way, he had said them to himself. Because every investigator who spends years searching for other people eventually discovers that the work is also a search for meaning. Why help? Why continue? Why keep asking questions when the answers are sometimes painful? Barnaby knew his answer. Because people mattered. Not because they were perfect. They were rarely perfect. They mattered because every person had a story. Every person carried something unseen. Every person could make a mistake. And every person deserved the possibility of making a better choice tomorrow. That belief had guided Barnaby through countless investigations. It had guided him through the case of Danny Corman. And it would guide him through whatever came next. Betty opened the car door. "Are you coming?" Barnaby smiled. "Right behind you." They drove away. Behind them, the office remained quiet. The files waited. The telephone waited. The typewriter waited. But the story of Danny Corman had finally reached its proper ending. Not an ending filled with triumph or glory. A quieter ending. A better one. A husband returned home. A wife no longer waiting by the telephone. A friendship restored. A young man who had learned that courage did not require pretending. And a detective who had once again discovered that the most valuable thing he could give someone was not an answer. It was hope. The road stretched ahead. Barnaby looked through the windshield. The city lights began appearing one by one. Betty turned on the radio. For once, there was no urgent message. No warning. No emergency. Just music. Barnaby smiled. "Maybe we will have a quiet evening." Betty looked at him. "You really want to test fate again?" Barnaby laughed.
"No."
He looked ahead. "Let us just enjoy the ride." And for a little while they did. The city moved around them. People hurried home. Families gathered around dinner tables. Friends met for coffee. Children played in yards. Dogs waited beside doors. Somewhere, Danny and Kate were beginning the next chapter of their lives. They did not know exactly what tomorrow would bring. But they no longer needed to know. They had learned something important. A good life was not a life without problems. It was a life in which people faced those problems together. That was enough. And sometimes, enough was more valuable than anything money could buy. The car continued down the road. The night settled gently over Los Angeles. And Barnaby Jones, private investigator, friend, and reluctant adventurer, continued toward his next case. There would always be another mystery. Another unanswered question. Another frightened voice on the telephone. But there would also always be another opportunity. An opportunity to listen. An opportunity to help. An opportunity to remind someone that being lost did not mean being forgotten. And perhaps that was the greatest lesson of all. No matter how complicated life became, no matter how far someone wandered, the road home was still there. Sometimes all it took was someone willing to help them find it. The next few days passed quietly, almost suspiciously quietly. Barnaby did not complain. After the events surrounding Danny Corman, he had developed a new appreciation for ordinary mornings. A cup of coffee. A newspaper. A clean desk. A telephone that remained silent for more than 5 minutes. These things had once seemed unremarkable. Now they felt luxurious. Betty noticed the change. You seem relaxed. Barnaby looked up from his newspaper. I am trying something new. What? Not expecting trouble. Betty smiled. That sounds dangerous. Barnaby lowered the newspaper. You may be right. They both laughed. But beneath the humor, Barnaby knew that the experience with the mercenaries had changed the way he looked at people. Before the case, he had always believed that deception was usually obvious. Someone lied because they wanted something. Someone hid information because they had something to lose. Someone pretended to be innocent because they were guilty. The case had reminded him that human motives were rarely that simple. Danny had hidden the truth because he wanted to protect his friend. Kate had hidden her deepest fear because she was afraid that admitting it would make it real. Lobo had lied about his military experience because he wanted to appear brave. Even Barnaby himself had entered the organization under false pretenses. The difference was not simply between people who lied and people who told the truth. The difference was why they did it. That distinction stayed with him. One afternoon, Barnaby received a letter from Kate. She wrote that she and Danny were settling into a new routine. Danny had decided not to return to anything resembling his former work.
He wanted a normal job.
Something stable. Something that would allow him to come home every evening. Kate had begun making plans for the future. Not extravagant plans. Simple plans. They wanted to repair their finances. They wanted to take care of one another. And they wanted to stop living as though tomorrow was something that could disappear without warning. Barnaby smiled when he read the letter. Betty watched him. Good news. Yes. Kate. Barnaby nodded. She says they are doing well. That is wonderful. Barnaby folded the letter. You know what I find interesting? What? People often think happiness comes when everything is perfect. Betty waited. But their lives are not perfect.
No.
They're still worried about money. Yes. They still have problems. Probably. Barnaby smiled. And yet they are happy. Betty nodded. Maybe happiness is not about having no problems. Barnaby looked at her. It is about knowing who you can face them with. For a moment they were both silent. Then the telephone rang. Betty sighed. I knew it. Barnaby reached for the receiver. Barnaby Jones. A woman was calling. She sounded frightened. Her brother had not returned home. He had been missing for 2 days. Barnaby asked for his name. He wrote it down. He asked where the man had last been seen. He listened. Betty began preparing a new file. Barnaby asked a few more questions. Then he promised to meet the woman. He hung up. Betty placed the empty folder on his desk. Another missing person. Barnaby nodded. She looked at him. You're not going to say this one will be simple, are you?
No. Good.
Barnaby smiled. I have learned my lesson. They prepared to leave. But before Barnaby reached the door, the telephone rang again.
He stopped.
Betty looked at him. Barnaby slowly turned around. This cannot be good. He answered. It was the police. They had found the missing man. He was not injured. He had simply gone to stay with a friend without telling his family. Barnaby listened. Then he thanked the officer. He placed the receiver down. Betty waited. Well, he is fine. That is wonderful. Barnaby nodded. Very. They looked at the unfinished file, then at each other. Betty smiled. Perhaps this is the quiet case you wanted. Barnaby considered it. Perhaps. They closed the file. It was the easiest investigation they had ever handled. And somehow, that made it feel like a victory. Not every disappearance had to end in danger. Not every mystery concealed a conspiracy. Sometimes people simply made foolish decisions. Sometimes they forgot to make a telephone call. Sometimes they underestimated how much their absence would frighten the people who cared about them. And sometimes, fortunately, they came home. That evening, Barnaby received another visit. This time it was Lobo. He looked completely different from the young recruit Barnaby had met at the training compound. He was wearing ordinary clothes. No uniform. No military equipment. No attempt to appear intimidating. He looked almost like any other young man in Los Angeles. Barnaby smiled. Good to see you. Good to see you too. Lobo held up a small envelope. What is that? My first paycheck. Barnaby smiled. You found work. I did. What kind? Construction. Barnaby nodded. Honest work. Very honest. They both laughed. Lobo looked around. I wanted you to know something. Barnaby waited. When I was with those men, I thought being important meant being dangerous. Barnaby listened. I thought if people were afraid of me, they would respect me. He shook his head. I was wrong. Barnaby leaned back. What changed your mind? Lobo thought about it. Danny. Barnaby nodded. He could have saved himself. Yes. He did not.
No.
He protected you. Yes. Lobo smiled. That was the first time I understood what courage really looked like. Barnaby did not answer immediately. He knew that some lessons did not need explanation. Lobo stood. I just wanted to tell you. I am glad you did. After Lobo left, Betty looked at Barnaby. He is going to be all right. Barnaby nodded. I think so. You helped him. Barnaby shook his head. Danny helped him. And who helped Danny? Barnaby smiled. That is where it gets complicated. Betty laughed. Everything with you gets complicated. Barnaby smiled. That may be true. Outside, the evening had begun. The office lights reflected against the windows. Barnaby stood for a moment looking out at the city. He remembered the training compound. The recruits lined up. The strict voices. The secrecy. The fear. He remembered Danny's face when they first saw each other. He remembered Kate waiting. He remembered the moment when Danny had chosen friendship over fear. That moment mattered more than any other part of the investigation. Because when people are given a choice between protecting themselves and protecting someone else, the choice reveals who they really are. Danny had made his choice. And that choice had changed the ending. Barnaby returned to his desk. He opened the old case file one final time. He read the notes. Then he closed it.
There was no reason to keep looking backward.
The case was over. Danny was home. Kate was happy. Lobo was beginning a new life. Longwood's plan had failed. The organization had been exposed. The danger had passed. Barnaby placed the file on the shelf. Then he turned off the light. The next morning would bring another case. But tonight there was nothing left to solve. And perhaps that was the best possible ending. Not every story needed another mystery. Not every question needed another question. Sometimes the greatest achievement was simply knowing when to stop searching. Barnaby walked out of the office. Betty locked the door. They stood together on the sidewalk. The city was calm. Cars moved through the streets. Lights appeared in apartment windows. Somewhere nearby, a couple were probably arguing about dinner. Somewhere else, someone was laughing. Life continued. Barnaby smiled. Tomorrow? Betty nodded. Tomorrow. They went their separate ways. And for the first time in several days, Barnaby did not wonder what could possibly happen next. He simply went home. The morning came quietly. Then another morning. and another. Weeks passed. The memory of the mercenaries gradually became less immediate. Danny and Kate continued rebuilding their lives. Lobo continued working. Barnaby returned to his routine. Yet some cases never completely disappear. They remain in the mind because they teach something. The case of Danny Corman had taught Barnaby that people could be pushed into dangerous situations by ordinary problems. Money.
Fear.
Illness.
Pride.
Loneliness. The desire to prove oneself. None of those things were extraordinary. That was what made the situation so dangerous. The people who joined the organization were not all monsters. Many were simply people who believed they had nowhere else to go. That realization stayed with Barnaby. It reminded him that prevention was often more valuable than punishment. If people had better opportunities, perhaps fewer would feel forced to take dangerous ones. If people could ask for help without shame, perhaps fewer would make desperate decisions. If families could speak honestly about their fears, perhaps fewer misunderstandings would become tragedies. Barnaby did not pretend he had all the answers. He was a detective, not a philosopher. But experience had taught him that every case contained a lesson. The lesson of this one was simple. People needed one another. No amount of money could replace trust. No amount of power could replace loyalty. And no promise of adventure could replace the peace of knowing where you belonged. Months later, Barnaby received another letter. This time it was from Danny. The letter was cheerful. Danny had found steady work. Kate was doing well. They had even managed to put aside a little money. There was one line that made Barnaby laugh. Danny wrote that he had finally discovered the true meaning of a quiet evening. It meant sitting at home with Kate, eating dinner, and listening to the radio without worrying about someone ordering him to do anything. Barnaby showed the letter to Betty. She laughed. I think he has learned his lesson. I hope so. The letter ended with a simple sentence. Danny wrote that he would never forget what Barnaby had done. Barnaby folded the letter. He did not need thanks. He had received something better. He had seen two people get another chance. That was enough. The sun began to set outside the office. Barnaby poured 2 cups of coffee. He handed one to Betty. They stood by the window. For a while they watched the city. Then Betty spoke. Do you think people really change? Barnaby considered the question. Yes. Completely?
No.
She looked at him. What do you mean? People do not become different people. They become better versions of themselves when they learn from what happened. Betty smiled. That sounds almost wise. Almost. I would not get carried away. Barnaby laughed. The office filled with quiet laughter. It was an ordinary moment. No mystery. No danger. No conspiracy. Just 2 friends drinking coffee after a long day. And perhaps that was exactly what Barnaby had been trying to protect all along. Ordinary moments. The freedom to laugh. The freedom to love. The freedom to go home. The freedom to wake up the next morning and make a better decision than the one made yesterday. The world would always have ambitious men. There would always be people seeking money and influence. There would always be people willing to promise glory. But there would also always be people like Kate. People like Danny. People like Lobo. People who, despite their mistakes, could choose another path. That possibility was worth believing in. Barnaby turned off the office light. Betty gathered her things. They left together. The door closed behind them. The office became dark. The files remained on their shelves. The telephone waited for another morning. And the city continued through the night. Somewhere, Danny and Kate were probably asleep. Somewhere, Lobo was preparing for another day at work. And somewhere beyond all of them, the future was waiting. No one knew exactly what it would bring. But perhaps that was the beauty of it. The future did not have to be known. It only had to be faced. One morning at a time. One decision at a time. One act of kindness at a time. And if someone became lost along the way, perhaps there would always be someone willing to look for them. That was what Barnaby Jones believed. And that was why, whenever the telephone rang, he answered. There are moments in life when everything seems to have returned to normal, yet a small part of the past remains quietly present. For Barnaby Jones, the case of Danny Corman had become one of those moments. He rarely spoke about it. There was no reason to. The investigation had ended. The people involved had moved forward. The danger had passed. Yet every so often, Barnaby would remember a particular conversation, a particular expression, or a particular decision. He remembered Danny telling him that he could not leave. He remembered the fear in his friend's voice. He remembered the impossible choice Danny had been forced to make. And most of all, he remembered the moment when Danny decided that friendship mattered more than obedience. It was not dramatic. There had been no applause, no celebration, no audience. Just one man quietly deciding to protect another. Barnaby had learned over the years that the most meaningful decisions were often made that way. Quietly. Without witnesses. Without anyone knowing how difficult they had been. One afternoon, Barnaby received another unexpected visitor. The man stood in the doorway for several seconds before saying anything. Barnaby recognized him. It was one of the recruits from the training compound. Barnaby remembered his face, but not his name. The man smiled awkwardly. I hope I am not interrupting. Not at all. The man stepped inside. I wanted to thank you. Barnaby smiled. That seems to be happening quite often lately. The man laughed. I suppose it does. He sat down. For a moment he said nothing. Then he explained that after the organization had collapsed, he had returned home. He had spent several weeks thinking about what had happened. At first he had been embarrassed, then angry, then relieved. Finally, he had begun to understand. He had joined because he wanted excitement. He wanted money. He wanted to feel important. He had believed that dangerous work would somehow make him a more interesting person. Instead, it had shown him how easily people could become tools in someone else's plan. Barnaby listened. What are you doing now? The man smiled. Working at my father's store. Barnaby nodded. That sounds sensible. It is. The man looked toward the window. You know, I used to think ordinary life was boring. And now I think ordinary life is something to be grateful for. Barnaby smiled. That is a lesson many people never learn. The man stood. Thank you. Barnaby shook his hand. Take care of yourself. I will. After he left, Barnaby remained thoughtful. He wondered how many people had walked away from the organization with similar feelings. Some would remember the experience as the greatest mistake of their lives. Others might eventually remember it as the experience that forced them to grow up. The difference was what they did afterward. A mistake could become a prison, or it could become a teacher. Barnaby believed that everyone deserved the opportunity to choose the second path. That evening, he received a telephone call from Kate. Her voice sounded cheerful. She wanted to invite Barnaby and Betty to dinner. Barnaby accepted. Betty was delighted. I think we should go. I already said yes.
Good.
They arrived at Kate and Danny's home later that evening. The house was modest. Nothing about it suggested wealth or ambition. There were no expensive decorations. No signs of luxury. Just a comfortable room, a small dining table, and the unmistakable feeling of a home inhabited by people who were happy to be there. Danny greeted them at the door. He looked healthier, more relaxed. He no longer carried himself like a man waiting for an order. He looked like a husband. That simple difference meant everything. Dinner was informal. They talked about ordinary things. Work. Neighbors.
Food.
The weather. Nothing dramatic. Nothing mysterious. Barnaby enjoyed every minute. At one point, Danny raised his glass. I want to say something. Kate smiled. You have been practicing that all afternoon. Danny laughed. I have.
He looked at Barnaby.
I thought I knew what courage was. Barnaby said nothing. I thought courage meant being willing to take risks. Danny continued. I was wrong. He looked at Kate. Courage is sometimes knowing what is worth protecting.
Kate reached for his hand.
Danny continued. And sometimes courage means admitting you were wrong. Barnaby smiled. I think you have learned enough. Everyone laughed. The evening continued. After dinner, Kate and Betty went into the kitchen. Danny and Barnaby remained in the living room. Danny lowered his voice. There is something I have never told you. Barnaby looked at him. What? When I first joined that organization, I really thought I was doing the right thing. Barnaby nodded. I know. I wanted to take care of Kate. I know. I thought money would solve everything. Barnaby looked toward the kitchen. It is an easy mistake to make. Danny smiled sadly. I nearly lost everything. But you did not.
No. He paused.
Because you came looking for me. Barnaby shook his head. You would have done the same. Danny smiled. I hope so. They sat quietly. The friendship between them had changed. Before the case, they had been old friends. Now they understood one another more deeply. Some experiences create distance. Others create a bond that cannot easily be explained. Their experience had done both. The evening ended peacefully. Barnaby and Betty said goodbye. As they walked toward the car, Betty looked back at the house. They really are happy. Barnaby nodded. Yes. That makes me happy. Me too. They drove home. For several miles, neither spoke. Then Betty said, Do you think Danny will ever talk about what happened? Probably. To whom? Barnaby smiled. Maybe to his grandchildren. Betty laughed. And what will he say?
Barnaby thought about it.
He will probably make himself sound much braver than he really was. Betty laughed again. That sounds about right. Barnaby smiled. Everyone edits their own history. The city lights passed around them. For Barnaby, the case was finally becoming a memory rather than an unfinished question. And perhaps that was the healthiest way to remember difficult experiences. Not by forgetting them. Not by pretending they had never happened, but by allowing them to become lessons. The following morning, Barnaby returned to his office. A new file was waiting. Betty had placed it neatly in the center of his desk. Barnaby looked at it. He sighed. What now? Betty smiled. A family dispute. That sounds harmless. It involves an inheritance. Barnaby's expression changed.
Ah.
Betty laughed. You see? I should have known. Barnaby opened the file. The new case had nothing to do with mercenaries. Nothing to do with secret organizations. Nothing to do with international politics. Yet as he began reading, he realized that the same human problems appeared again. Money.
Trust. Fear. Family. Pride.
People were different. Their circumstances were different. But their emotions were often remarkably similar. Barnaby began taking notes. He asked questions. He listened. And slowly, another story began to take shape. That was the nature of his work. One mystery ended. Another began. But the lessons remained. He had learned that money could create fear. He had learned that secrecy could destroy trust. He had learned that people often made bad choices while trying to do something they believed was good. He had learned that loyalty could survive extraordinary circumstances. And he had learned that a second chance was sometimes the greatest gift anyone could receive. The telephone rang. Barnaby answered. Yes. A pause. He listened. Then his expression became serious. Betty looked at him. Barnaby wrote something down. When he hung up, he remained silent. What is it? Barnaby looked at the new file. Another complication. Betty smiled. I knew it. Barnaby stood. Come on. Where are we going? To ask a few questions. They left the office. The day was bright. The streets were busy. And somewhere ahead, another mystery waited. Barnaby did not know how it would end. He did not know who was telling the truth. He did not know who was afraid. He did not know which small detail would eventually unlock the entire story. But he knew something else. He would listen. He would ask questions. He would keep looking. And if someone was lost, he would try to find them. Because that was the promise hidden inside every investigation. Not that every problem could be solved. Not that every ending would be happy. But that someone would care enough to look. The car moved through the city. Betty glanced at Barnaby. You know what? What? I think you actually enjoy this. Barnaby smiled. Maybe. You do. Perhaps I enjoy helping people. That is not what I meant. Barnaby laughed. All right. He looked ahead. Maybe I enjoy the mystery. Betty smiled. I knew it. The car continued. Behind them was the old case. Ahead was the new one. And somewhere between the two was the ordinary, unpredictable life that Barnaby had learned to appreciate more than ever. A life filled with mistakes. A life filled with surprises. A life filled with people trying, sometimes badly, to do the right thing. And that was enough to keep him going. Because as long as there were people who needed help, Barnaby Jones would have a reason to answer the telephone. The road stretched ahead. The city waited. And another story was about to begin.